Hello my dear friends, I usually don't do the first impressions because I ended up repeating myself later in the full review. But in the case of the Vivo X300 Pro, I decided to make an exception. To be honest, when the first leaks about the Vivo X300 Pro appeared, I was quite skeptical. Another Pro model? What's the point if all the best features are reserved for the Ultra version anyway? But I have to admit, I was a bit wrong. The Pro is the model intended for the global market, so Vivo couldn't just strip it down completely. It has to be appealing enough to attract international buyers. First impressions often start with the design of the device itself. When I first saw the new Vivo in the brown color, which to me looks more like a beige shade, paired with the darker frame accents, I thought, wow, this design really speaks to me. It appears more subdued than the X200 Ultra model, but still retains a strong character, partly thanks to the subtle growths around the camera module, which gives a modern look. The phone has the IP69 certification, and the higher the rating, the better for us as users. That's especially important for me, since I often record videos in humid and high temperature environments. Having the extra layer of protection is definitely a plus. After 6 months of using the Oppo Find S8 Ultra with its flat display, switching to the flat screen on the Vivo has been a real plus for me. It feels comfortable and natural to use. Of course, the Pro versions have slightly lower resolution than the Ultra models, just like last year, but I still consider this screen to be very good. The 10-bit color depth, good brightness, and plenty of eye comfort options really make a difference. The fingerprint reader is ultrasonic, something we have already gotten used to, and it works very quickly and accurately. In everyday use, the Vivo X300 Pro performs really well. My unit is 16GB RAM, 512GB storage variant. Compared to the Ultra version, the biggest difference is in the chip. Here we get the MediaTek Dimensity 9500. The phone also ships with Android 16 and the new Origin OS 6. The latest version of the software brings quite a few updates. The animations feel more smooth and fluid, and the overall interface looks cleaner and lighter. There are also more personalization options, for example on the lock screen. A fun addition is the new Flip Cards feature, which lets you pick up to 4 photos from your gallery and display them in rotation when you tilt the phone sideways. A small but very nice touch. Overall, I really like Origin OS. But my personal favorite skin remains ColorOS. One of the changes in the X300 Pro is the new vibration motor, which, at least compared to my Vivo X100 Ultra, shows clearly noticeable difference. The vibrations are now more precise, pinpoint, and stronger, to the point that for the first time on a Vivo, I decided to slightly reduce their intensity. Unfortunately, I no longer have the X200 Ultra, which, as far as I remember, offered 2 different vibration modes, similar to here, crisp and soft. Compared to the X100 Ultra, the difference is obvious. The new vibration motor in the X300 Pro delivers much better haptic feedback. However, I don't want to directly compare the X300 Pro to the X200 Ultra, to avoid giving the wrong impression about significant difference in vibrations. Personally, I use this phone in crisp mode with a customized intensity level. As for thermals, surprisingly, in my usage conditions, the Vivo tends to heat up a bit more than I expected. I first noticed it already during the initial setup. It's not extreme, of course, but longer photo session or 4K video recording definitely make the device warmer to the touch. Temperature above 40 degrees in ambient conditions of around 25-27 degrees aren't unusual. What disappointed me a bit are the speakers. I was expecting a bigger improvement compared to the Vivo X200 Pro and X200 Ultra, but unfortunately the sound still isn't very wide. The mids are quite dominant, which can become a bit irritating at higher volumes. When it comes to Bluetooth audio codecs, things don't look much better either. You get LDAC, LHDC, aptX and aptX HD, but unfortunately there is no support for aptX adaptive. And now the part most of you are probably waiting for, the camera. A full review will come later, but I have to admit, the camera on the Vivo X300 Pro has really impressed me, more than any other in quite some time. Not because it uses groundbreaking sensors, it doesn't, but because of the one specific feature that completely changed the character of the photos. More on that in a moment. Most of familiar features from previous models are still here, including various color profiles, natural, textured, vivid, classic, negative, the effect adjustment mode that lets you fine-tune parameters like brightness or, for example, sharpness, and humanistic street snap camera, a simple version of the Pro mode. In automatic mode, photos from the X300 Pro are among of the best on the market when it comes to detail, but they are not without drawbacks. HDR can sometimes be overly aggressive, brightening shadows too much, and in some shots the processing looks a bit too heavy. Of course, that depends on your personal taste and the kind of look you prefer, but it seems Vivo was aware of this. And that's exactly why they introduced new feature, native lighting or raw lighting, because the name changed after the new update. This feature completely won me over. It works similar to the Oppo's master mode, but is not a direct copy. The biggest advantage is that it eliminates aggressive post-processing. You can see it right away, as photos are captured almost instantly. The results? A more natural color tone, less digital looking, and much closer to what you actually see. Importantly, raw lighting also works with ultra-wide, telephoto and zoom lenses. And that's a real game changer. But to be fair, there are certain scenarios where this feature can actually mess up the shot, for example during sunrise or sunset. I will go into more detail about that in my upcoming comparison with the Oppo or in a full review. This is definitely a camera that rewards users who take the time to get to know it. In addition, you will also find the familiar Super Telephoto Enhancement feature, which has been expanded in the X300 Pro. You can now set it from off all the way up to extreme. The differences are practically noticeable when zooming, so it's worth finding your preferred setup. During my test, I often took several series of photos to see how different settings affected to the final look. I will talk more about that in a full review. Another major upgrade is the new telephoto lens, and Vivo really didn't disappoint here. The new Samsung HPB sensor delivers the excellent quality we have come to expect from the brand. I also feel that the macro mode is noticeably better. It's easier to lock focus, which makes shooting close-up more enjoyable and more consistent. And then there is the front-facing camera, which has seen a clear improvement. Portrait looks really good, the phone handles hair separation surprisingly well, something that still trips up many other flagships. It's honestly one of the best selfie cameras I've used in a while. I'm still taking tons of photos every day, often side by side with the Oppo Find S8 Ultra, to show you the differences between these two devices in an upcoming comparison. As for the battery, I haven't used the phone long enough to draw any main conclusions, but it looks quite promising. The X300 Pro comes with the 6510 mAh battery, which is more than X200 Pro or X200 Ultra. In everyday use, it easily lasts a full day, although if you take a lot of photos, the battery does drain faster. I've even managed to run it down around 7 p.m. I'm not sure how the global version, which has only 5440 mAh, will perform. It's also worth noting that in my usage the phone runs with 2 SIM cards, one of which is on a roaming, and I don't limit myself to Wi-Fi. I spend a lot of time on mobile data, which stresses the battery. Regarding charging, the speeds are the same as the X200 Ultra, 90 watt wired and 40 watt wireless. They are just my first impressions of the Vivo X300 Pro. Technically, it's an evolution of the Pro model, much like most phones that release year after year, but some changes are very noticeable and clearly improvements. The flat screen makes daily use easier and allows for tempered glass to be applied. The new vibration motor improves the overall feels of the phone, and the larger battery, at last in the Chinese version, extends usage time. The raw lighting feature is for me a true game changer, making using the Vivo camera even more enjoyable. It might also come to X200 Ultra or X200 Pro, but I'm not certain about that yet. Using X300 Pro on a daily basis is a very pleasant. Even for me, it was a bit of surprise, as I didn't expect such positive impressions. I will share my final conclusion in a full review, but for now, I'm really surprised. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, I invite you to my next videos. I think the next will be a comparison with the Oppo Find Z Ultra. So, bye and take care.